Hello students, today in this lecture we are going to learn some properties of X radiation. X-ray or X radiation that plays one important role in characterizing the materials in solid state physics as well as in material science, biochemistry, biology, medical sector, etc. The properties of X-ray, if you have gone through it in plus 10 plus 2 standard, you have understood the properties of X-ray are totally different than usually observed other kind of radiation like alpha, beta or gamma ray. It can ionize the gas, but it is a chargeless, massless particle. Almost it's all the properties are similar to gamma photon, that is the light. But X-ray propagates with very low wavelength range. The wavelength range is of the order of 1 to 10 nanometer. Nanometer means 10 to the power minus 9 meter, very small. And if you consider it in the Armstrong, its wavelength propagates nearly of 1.54 of the order of that small in Armstrong. It is very small. So X radiation of X-ray, which is also you can have some X radiation of the order of 1 to 100 nanometer, but general convention we will call it a small wavelength radiation. And what is the origin of X-ray and how it is generated? X-ray, it was invented accidentally. Why it is called accidentally? Because it was discovered by Röntgen while doing an experiment with photographic plate and Cooley's tube. Cooley's tube generally emits electron beam, and if I draw the construction of the Cooley's tube that you have probably gone through already, Cooley's tube operates in very low pressure of gas. One setup like that, where you are having one metal filament. The filament is connected with the negative part of the battery, and positive part of the battery will be connected with the collector. Suppose this be the collector, and this filament again will be connected with the positive side of the battery, and it is emitter. The filament will emit high velocity electrons, and they were doing an experiment to analyze the emission of electrons or electron beam through the Cooley's tube. It can be provided with a jacket for coolant, etc. That is well known thing. I am not going into detail of this Cooley's tube, but what Röntgen observed, he observed that if the velocity of the electron beam is sufficiently high, and what should be the velocity of electron beam inside this Cooley's tube, that is also already observed. That is, if the potential difference is V, the energy of the particles inside the Cooley's tube will be equals to EV, that will be equals to half m v square. That is the kinetic energy of the particles emitted. So greater the potential applied in the Cooley's tube in between this plus minus battery, the greater the velocity of the electron beam. There was one experiment going on this Cooley's tube to analyze the electron beam. But accidentally, after a few days, where the scientists or team of the scientists observed that all the photographic plate that were preserved in the laboratory were damaged. But they were not in the direction of this electron beam. Electron beam can itself damage the photographic plate, but here the electron beam didn't play any role. Electron beams were destroyed, so all the photographic plates were destroyed by any unknown ray. This unknown ray was named as X-ray. X means if we do not know any name or quantity, we call it, let it be X. From that the name came X-ray. Some X-ray, there is a source of another, or there is some origination of another kind of ray which is totally unknown to them till then, and that is the cause of destruction of the photographic plates kept inside the laboratory. Then what they observed, that if the high velocity electrons are colliding with the high Z material, high Z means that material which is having high atomic number, that is its melting point will be very high. If they are colliding with that, then from the after collision, one chargeless massless ray will be ejected, which can destroy the photographic plate, which will not be attracted by the magnetic field, which not will be influenced by the electrical field. And that was some new kind of ray, and that was named as X-ray. And later on, X-ray was characterized in two classification. One is continuous X-ray, and another was named as characteristics X-ray. Okay, characteristics X-ray and continuous X-ray, there's a totally different kind of thing. The origin is also different, and most of the investigations or material characterizations are done with the characteristics X-ray. But what is the role of this conventional continuous X-ray? Let's see the continuous X-ray first. And as I told, the principle of the Cooley's tube, if any high Z material is colliding, if electron beam is colliding with the high Z material, then it is a new kind of ray is ejected. This is named as X-ray, and the X-ray energy will be maximum. This was seen that the X-ray energy will be maximum if and only if the total energy of the electrons are absorbed by the high Z material. If the total energy of the electron is absorbed and it is being converted into X radiation, so the energy of X-ray Emax will be equals to H nu max, we can write, equals to half mv square. Half mv square is the energy of the electron beam that is being converted, equals to EV. We can write it. So from that we can write what will be the value of nu max. Nu max, its value will be equals to EV by H. So from that, if we calculate lambda mean, then we will be getting HC by EV. And if you put the values, you will be getting a quantity like that, 12400 by V, it in Armstrong. This is the lambda minimum or minimum wavelength of X-ray. This is the mathematical calculation, and with that, if you draw or empirically see the X radiation or the graphical representation of X radiation, in this direction you are plotting the X-ray intensity I, in this direction you are plotting the wavelength, you will be getting some curves like this. And with increase in applied voltage, this may be for 40 volt, 50 volt, this may be for 30 volt, and this may be for say 10 volt. If you increase the amount of potential applied in the Cooley's tube, the intensity of the X-ray will be increased, as we have seen in this equation, and the peak will be shifted towards right. That is a different thing. The curve will be like that, and there exists, curve is continuous, and there exists one particular wavelength for which this is lambda m, for which the energy is maximum. Okay, and both the sides it is having a shadow. That was the characteristics X-ray. But the origination of the this is the characteristics of continuous X-ray. But characteristics X-ray, if you observe the same curve very carefully, suppose I am magnifying this curve of 50 volt. If you observe it very carefully, in this direction you are plotting intensity and lambda, you will be getting some kinks here in the curve, like that. What is the origination of these kinks? The small kinks. There is sudden increase in intensity at a particular wavelength. Analyzing this, scientists got some new physics of X radiation, that this continuous X-ray will be accompanied by some characteristics of the material which is used as the target. That is why it is called the characteristics X-ray. And characteristics, this terminology came from the idea that this X-ray can characterize the target material. Depending upon the target material, the position of the kings and the intensity of the kings will be changed. Suppose these kings are observed for a material Z equals to 80. If you place any material, other material Z equals to suppose 75, then the position of the kings may be different. Nature of X radiation will be same, but the position of the kings may vary. So identifying the position of the kings, we can identify a particular material, and that is why this kind of X characteristics was named as characteristics X-ray. Now we have to find out what is the origin of this characteristics X-ray. Let us see this characteristics X-ray. Suppose I am now considering the high Z material. Suppose this is the electronic configuration of the high Z material, and in this high Z material, this is the nucleus, and around the nucleus there is the electronic cloud. It may be partially filled, it may be full filled, I don't bother, but I am just drawing the electronic cloud. Then when the X-ray is generated, that is high velocity electron beam is coming towards it. If the high velocity electron beams are coming towards it, electron beams are already negatively charged, and electronic cloud is also negative. So there will be one repulsive force, and because of the repulsive force, the electronic ray appearing towards the nucleus or towards the electronic cloud may deviate from its path, and because of this deviation, it may release one photon to balance its energy, and this photon is nothing but the continuous X-ray. You again try to understand that electron beam is coming towards a high Z material which is having a larger and denser electronic cloud, and electronic cloud will repulse the further electron to come or penetrate to it. So because of this change in path, it may release one photon to balance its energy during the change in path. This is nothing but the continuous generation of continuous X-ray. As I told already, X-ray is nothing but the photons. Another thing may happen. Suppose it is colliding, electron is colliding with another electron, and this electron is changing its position, or it is jumping from the upper energy cell to lower energy cell, or the lower energy cell to upper energy cell. During that also there may be transition of another photon, h nu, and here the frequency of these two photons will be different. If it is nu, that may be nu prime. It may be associated with this small nu prime, and because of existence of that particular transition, there may be one kink. That is the characteristics X-ray. This is schematical diagram also. What happens actually in reality, that I am now showing you. Suppose I am having the electronic shells. I am now naming the cells. The first cell will be named as K, which is n equals to 1. This will be named as K. Then second cell, that will be n equals to 2. That will be named as L. Then the third cell, that is n equals to 3, KL, then M. Then the fourth cell, which will be named n equals to 4, that is KLM, N shell. Now because of this having excess energy, if one K cell electron, this from any K cell electron is coming to the upper energy cell, or in vice contrary, any upper energy electron is jumping to the K shell, that may release one photon. From this cell, if any electron is jumping to the lower energy cell, that may release one photon. From N cell also, if any electron is coming to the K shell, this may release one photon. But for all these three transitions, these three photons will not carry equal energy, because there is a energy gap. Because what is this energy will be released because of the emission of photon, h nu will be equals to E final minus E initial. So let's see, for E final and E initial, the energy gap is not same for all the transitions. If I consider these three lines, for these three lines the energy will be different. The first transition, which is from L to K, the smallest one, that is called K alpha. Then the next one will be called K beta, and the third one will be called K gamma. But this K alpha, K beta and K gamma will not carry equal amount of energy. Similarly, if any electron is coming from this M shell to L cell, this will be called L alpha. Then outer shell to L cell, this will be called L beta, like this. And you can consider from N to M, this will be called KL, this will be M, this will be called M alpha, and so on. If I now show you the energy diagram in its real form, how we plot the energy diagram, suppose this is n equals to infinity number of shell, and this is the first excited state, that is n equals to 1. N equals to 1 means k, then suppose this is L, then KL M N and so on, dot dot dot, etc. Now if any electron is jumping from L shell to K shell like this will be K alpha. From this here to here, it will be called K beta. From this to that, this will be K gamma. Similarly, from M to L, this will be L alpha, and this will be L beta. This will be M alpha, and so on. So terminology comes from that in which shell it is finally coming. If all the electrons are coming finally to the K shell, this will be K lines. So these lines will be called K lines, these lines will be called L lines, and this will be called M lines. Understood? This is very simple. And now if I now ask you one question simply, suppose in the characteristics X-ray I am getting two lines, intensity, wavelength, I am getting two kinks. Suppose the first kink and the second kink, like that. And if I say one is for K alpha, another is for K beta, identify this. I can say one is K alpha, another is K beta. Which one is K alpha, which one is K beta? Identify this. How to identify? This is trivial question. Then you will say, how can I understand it from observing one particular graph? Yes, you can understand it. Because you see, where the lambda is increasing, here the lambda is small, here the lambda is large. If you consider this lambda 2 and if you consider this lambda 1, then of course lambda 2 is greater than lambda 1. Now try to understand K alpha and K beta. Look at this diagram, this phasor diagram. In this diagram you are having this K, this is K alpha and this is K beta. Which line is having maximum transition energy, K alpha or K beta? You can, what I told already, that EV equals to H nu, that is equals to E final minus E initial, or you can take the difference, final and initial, where the energy gap is higher. So for which the frequency will be higher, K alpha or K beta? Of course for K beta the frequency will be higher. Okay, so I can write frequency H nu, nu K beta will be greater than nu K alpha, and nu and lambda, these are inversely proportional to each other. So if nu and lambda this be inversely proportional to each other, I can write lambda K beta will be less than lambda K alpha. Okay, so lambda K beta will be less than lambda K alpha. So the first one of course will be equals to K beta, and the second one will be equals to K alpha. Thus you can easily identify. And if you are having n number of lines, several lines, then you have to concentrate, then you have to know the energy transition, you have to understand the electronic configuration of that particular material, then only you can understand or identify the position of the kinks. This is called characteristics X-ray. So you understood probably the characteristics and continuous X-ray, but this continuous and characteristics X-ray will not come with so easy calculation. If you consider now the fine structure will be a little difficult. How can you understand the fine structure? Because I have only considered the orbits, I have not considered the orbitals till now. If you consider now the orbitals, then the transition, there will be several lines, and then magnifying one particular K beta line, you can have several small kinks. Magnifying one particular K alpha line, you can have several small kinks. Now being one student of physics, now you have to understand the fine structure. So let us now go towards the fine structure analysis. So in fine structure, what we will be trying to see that the actual origination of the all kinds of ray, K alpha, K beta, K gamma, and their actual origin. And one more thing, the energy gap that I am plotting, energy gap should not be same always. The energy gap between this K and L should be larger than N, M, KL, M, N, O dot dot etc. So here the energy gap should be larger. Here the energy gap should be comparatively smaller. Here again smaller, and so on. Because we have seen the electronic energy varies the E by N square. So the with increase in order number, increase in the number of N, the energy gap reduces. So accordingly you have to plot the energy diagram, otherwise it will be confusing to understand. Now see, I am drawing the K alpha line. First this is K alpha, this is K beta, the third one is K gamma, etc. So this is L alpha, this is L beta, this may be M alpha, and next one is M beta, and so on. So I am not concentrating on this particular figure because I am now going to understand the fine structure. Now I am plotting one table. In the table, first let me sketch the shell number. Second one is value of N. Third one the value of L, orbital quantum number. This is principal quantum number. This is energy level. Then the multiplicity. And final one is the state. How many states they can create. Shell. First for K shell. You can give me the idea for K shell. What is the value of N, principal quantum number? 1. What will be the value of L? L equals to N minus 1. 0 to N minus 1. So it will be 0. Energy level of this shell will be named as K. And multiplicity of this number, multiplicity always equals to 2n minus 1. If it is 2n minus 1, then multiplicity for this shell will be n, because n equals to 1, 2n minus 1 equals to 1. How the state will be named? State will be named as 1, 2s half. This is j equals to L plus minus half. So what is the L value here? You understood it or not? So what you are going to calculate? This L plus minus half, so it will be half. And second cell, it will be named as L, principal quantum number 2, L value 0 to n minus 1, so 0 and 1. Energy levels L1. First multiplicity, calculate the multiplicity. 2n minus 1, that is 3. So this will be named as, first for 0 L1, for this 1 it will be L2 and L3. Sorry. How the states will be named? 2, then 2s half for S state, L equals to 1. Then second state 1, it will be 2p, 2 in 2, then 2p half, then L plus 1 equals to that will be L plus minus 1. Then if you calculate 1 plus half, then 3 by 2, 1 minus half, then half. Then it will be 2p 3 by 2, like that. Probably you understood, you have gone through probably vector atom model. If you have gone through, it will be easier to understand. Otherwise please go through the vector atom model, then it will be easier to understand. M cell, principal quantum number 3. L value I am writing n minus 0 to n minus 1, so 0, 1, 2. And how the states will be? First M1 for 0. For this 1, this will be M2 and M3. For 2 state, it will be M4 and M5. Totally 5. Multiplicity should be 5. 2n minus 1, that is 6 minus 1, 5. So you got it. First state, as usual, it will be 3, then 2s half, Then second, for 1 we already understood, only instead of this 2 there will be 3. 3 2p half, 3 2p 3 by 2. Then for this 2 SPD, then it will be 3 2d, what, L plus minus half. For D state, SPD, D equals to 3, 3 plus half and 3 minus half, then it will be 3 by 2 and 3, sorry, SPD D2, S equals to S, for S L equals to 0, then SPD D L equals to 2. If L equals to 2 plus half and 2 minus half, 2 minus half 3 by 2, then 2 D 2 plus half equals to 5 by 2, like that, and it will go on increasing. For n cell, you can calculate it your own. For n cell again, okay, I am completing it for up to n. KLMN, n cell it is 4, multiplicity will be 7, and this will be 0, 1, 2 and 3, and the states you can write n1, then n2, n3, then n4, n5, then n6, n7, totally 1, then 7 states. And the states you can write, for this state what you will write, n cell SPDF, then it will come F. First state will be 4, then 2s half as usual. Here also instead of 3, then everything is same, 4, then 2p half, 4 2p 3 by 2, then 4 as similar as before, only instead of 3 you have to write 4, 2d 3 by 2 and 4 2d 5 by 2. So SPD, then F. For F state it will be 2f, what, 3 plus half and 3 minus half, that is 3 minus half 5 by 2 and 3 plus half 7 by 2. Okay, now you understood that how many states will actually exist. So if you now plot the graph for the fine structure, how the graph will look like. I'm plotting it in reverse so that I can easily show you the transition. First, this be K line. So for K line, what is the multiplicity? 1. So K line will not split, only one single line. Then L. For L line, what is the multiplicity? 3. So L line will split into 3. This is L. And what will be the name of the lines? The first line for S, it will be 2s half, 1, then 2s half, and this will be 2, then 2s half, then 2 2p half, then 2 2p 3 by 2. M cell, what is the multiplicity? 5. So M cell into will split into 5 lines. This M, this will be 3 2s half, then 3 2p half, 3 2p 3 by 2, then what, 3 2d 3 by 2, 3 2d 5 by 2. And here comes the importance of selection rule. What is the selection rule? In this transition, it follows generally a selection rule. Selection rule here is delta L should be plus minus 1 and delta J should be 0 or plus minus 1. Otherwise, transition will not be possible. The selection rule comes from the nature. It is nature selection rule. to be in the minimum energy state and maintain the stability of the atomic configuration. So for K shell, for this K line S, always you have to maintain L should be plus minus 1. So S to S, this state is also S, this state is also S. S to S transition is forbidden. It is not possible. So from K line only it can come to the P line, and this is also P line. Initially we called it K alpha, but here for alpha line also we are getting two lines. So the first one will be called K alpha 1, second one will be called K alpha 2, like this. Because here you see, what is the K alpha line? From L to L, L to K, all the transitions are coming. These are named as alpha series. But here comes the beauty. But if it is coming from K to L, the nomenclature will be different. In fine structure you can see, instead of one line here, you can, in fine structure you can see two lines of different frequencies, different wavelengths. Similarly, if a transition is coming from K to M, then what are the transitions possible? K line is always S, so this S transition is not possible. So it can only go to the next level here, S to P. Okay, another selection rule you have to mind that delta J will be 0 or plus minus 1, not greater than that. Here is it following? Here from half to half, that is 0. Half to 3 by 2, that is 3 by 2 minus half, that is 1. So it is following the J rule also. Now see, here all the transitions are not possible. Why? Because if you now consider from S is forbidden, S to P is allowed. Delta L should be only plus minus 1, but S to D transition is not allowed. But why? Because if you are allowing some S to D, it will violate the rule delta L equals to plus minus 1. It will violate that. So this line will come to that, and here it will come to up to this. From S to P transition is only possible. So this will be named as K beta 1, this is K beta 2. But for other series, if you see all the spectra, all the spectral lines, this will give you more beautiful example. Suppose for L series I am trying. From L series, S to this level, S to S, it is forbidden. So from S it can come to the P level only. From S to P level is possible. S to P level is possible. S to D is not possible. Again, if I now see that P, from P where can it go? P to P is possible? No. Delta L should be plus minus 1. So from P it is possible to go to this D. But this P to 5 by 2, this line half to 5 by 2, this line is forbidden. Why? Here this rule will be violated. Delta J 0 to plus minus 1, it will be forbidden. Half and 5 by 2, it is 2, it's coming 2. 5 by 2 minus half, that is 2, so it is forbidden. So from P you can always come to the D line, but D 3 by 2. But this P 3 by 2 you can come to the 5 by 2. P 3 by 2 to 5 by 2 it is allowed. Because here also P to D it is allowed. SPDF, for D it is delta L equals to 0 plus minus 1, it is following, and 3 by 2 to 5 by 2 it is following 0 or 1. Understood? That's the beauty. And 3 by 2 to 3 by 2 is also possible. 3 by 2 to 3 by 2, this line P, that is also possible. If you come to this line, this here to here, it is also possible. Here it comes 0. It is also possible. So analyzing the fine structure and obeying the rules, you can have different characteristics lines. Now you have easily understood probably that this SPDF configuration, it is totally different for all the material. So analyzing this fine structure line, we can easily identify any particular material or characterize this particular material. That is why the name came characteristics lines. I hope you have gone through vector atom model, and this will be easier to understand. Now I am going towards the absorption of X-ray, that some practical questions that may be asked from X-ray, that what is the shielding of X-ray. Suppose you have gone through any X-ray study of yourself during the medical purpose. Suppose there is a man who is to be exposed by X-ray. There is the source of X-ray, there is a gantry, and it will expose him with X-ray. And where does the operator operate from? Operator operate from a shielding. Operator generally he hides himself behind one shielding during the exposure of X-ray, so as to avoid unnecessary radiation exposure. Then what should be the shielding and how the shielding is absorbing the X-ray? That is one practical question to be asked, and that is generally followed for the absorption of X-ray, how X-ray is absorbed. This is one beautiful understanding. Suppose I am having any quantum mechanical wall like that, because X-ray are very small photons, this will obey the laws of quantum mechanics always. Suppose this is the X-ray coming in this direction, and initial its activity is R0 colliding with the wall. This wall is having some thickness, suppose the thickness is X, and penetrating the wall, X-ray is having high penetrating power, that you know, that is why it is being used for radiography. And penetrating this amount of radiation coming through the other side is R. So mathematically we can write this dr dx, that is rate of decrease of activity or rate of decrease of dose, will be proportional to the dose coming to the right hand side. So the greater the dose, the greater the reduction. So we can write it as dr by dx will be equals to minus mu into r. Why this minus sign comes from? The minus sign comes because this denotes one reduction in rate or reduction in dose. So mu, it is called the specific absorption ratio. And this is different for different materials. It depends upon material to material. For different material it will be different. So if we solve this integration and write dr by r equals to minus mu into dx, and solve this integration, you will be getting ln r equals to minus mu x plus c. Now put the value of c, put the values, boundary value to calculate the value of c at this point of wall when x equals to 0. When x tending to 0, then r tending to r equals to r0. Put it and you will be getting the value of c equals to ln r0. Putting the values, finally you will be getting the formula ln r plus ln not plus minus ln r0 will be equals to minus mu into x, or finally you will be reaching to a result. The result is very interesting, that is r will be equals to r0 into e to the power minus mu x. So the decrease in activity or decrease in dose rate is always exponential with the shielding depth or shielding width. So if I now plot the shielding or distance, and here the activity, it will start from R0, the initial activity, and with the increase in the shielding length or shielding width, it will go on decreasing, and it is exponential law. So there comes the question, then when r equals to 0? When r equals to 0? R equals to 0 at which point? R will be tending to 0 if x tending to infinity. So this is not possible actually. Mathematically it is possible, but actually in the reality it is not possible. So whatever be the depth, there is always a chance that the some amount of X-ray will penetrate the wall. So in this regards, you have to understand the requirement of dose minimization. There comes always a limit that what dose the generally operator or any general public can tolerate. According to that, you have to impose the shielding. And also, a calculation or mathematical question is often asked that what is the half value length? Half value length means, from this equation I can make you understand r equals to r0 e to the power minus mu x. X for a particular value x, for what value x, r will be equals to r0 by 2. Suppose I write when x equals to suppose xh means a half value, then r equals to r0 by 2, that will be called the half value length. So calculate the value of half value, put it here, r equals to r0 by 2, r equals to r0 by 2 equals to r0 e to the power minus mu x h. So r0 will cancel out, and you will be getting e to the power minus mu xh equals to half. So if you now write it in the form that what will be the value of xh, that will be equals to minus 1 by mu ln half, like this. So thus you can calculate the half value length, and only you have to know the value of mu, that is the specific absorption ratio. Generally also 10th value length is also often asked. What is the 10th value length? 10th value length means instead of this r0 by 2 you have to put then r0 by 10, then it will be ln 10 or log 10, whatever. Accordingly you can calculate the what amount of shielding is needed to protect yourself. So one more question is left. What is Moseley law? And this Moseley's law from X radiation is written as Moseley's law of X radiation. It is written as nu, this nu root over of nu will be equals to a into z minus b. B is one constant, z is the atomic number of that material, a or b are constant terms. So for a particular material you can have the, depending upon the z, you can have the intensity of X-ray. That is Moseley law, and you can change the value of z to have a change in the value of the incident to product of the X-ray, and the X-ray produced that will have different characteristics or continuous wavelength and frequencies. So that is all for today's class, and in the next class it will be followed by X radiation lecture 2, and in that lecture I will try to cover the applications of X-ray in crystallography, that is Bragg's law and Lawes law. So thank you for the day, and I would like to request you now to go through any textbook so that you can understand it in more depth. I hope I have been able to deliver a little thing to you, and now it's your turn that you try to cope up with the things. You should go through any textbook. For indigenous textbook, these are S.N. Khosal or this A.B. Gupta Roy, these are very good. And also you can try the textbooks of the Arthur Weiser of modern physics, etc. for going through this, or atomic molecular spectra for Raj Kumar, that book also very good.